More rewards, more savings. With American Express Business Gold, earn up to $395 back in annual statement credits on eligible purchases at select shipping, food delivery, and retail subscription merchants. Enjoy the benefits of membership with the Amex Business Gold Card. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-gold. Amex Business Gold Card. Built for business by American Express.
Last week was our first playoff game, and my plaque psoriasis was so itchy under all my gear. Sometimes just thinking about scratching could take me out of the moment. And then my doctor told me I could get clearer skin with a pill called Otezla.
Otezla apremilast is a prescription medicine used to treat adult patients with plaque psoriasis for whom phototherapy or systemic therapy is appropriate. Otezla can help you get clearer skin after just 4 months.
Okay, ready for the next game. Talking to my doctor about a pill was a total game changer.
Don't use Otezla if you're allergic to it. Get medical help right away if you have trouble breathing or swallowing, swelling of the face, lips, tongue, throat, or arms. Severe diarrhea, nausea or vomiting, depression, suicidal thoughts, or weight loss can happen. Tell your doctor if any of these occur and if you have a history of depression or suicidal thoughts. Live in the moment. Ask your doctor about Otezla. Call 1-844-4-OTEZLA or visit Otezla.com for prescribing info about cost, and more.
In 2005, two brothers hit the road to fight monsters. That road has led them to fighting demons, angels, and saving the world.
It's a journey that is taking them to heaven, hell, and back. But they aren't done.
Join our journey as we go episode by episode, following the adventures of Sam and Dean Winchester. We break each episode down with the writers, producers, directors, crew, and actors to bring you the behind-the-scenes stories of how this legendary TV series was made. That guy right there, that's Rob Benedict. He played God and Chuck Shirley.
Hey, and that guy there, that's Richard Staite Jr. He played Gabriel, Loki, and the Trickster. And P.S., he directed a bunch of episodes, too.
Now, while we are insiders, we're also outsiders, because we're not experts. This is our first time watching the entire series, all 327 episodes.
Rich and I have met many of the fans at conventions around the world, and we are deepening our understanding of why you all love this series so much. Because it's really good.
Yeah, it is. Now, listen. There will be spoilers, so consider yourself warned.
And thank you for joining us on this trip we call Supernatural Then and Now. Hey everybody, it's Rob Benedict.
And I'm Richard Staite Jr.
And we're talking about Season 7, Episode 3, The Girl Next Door.
That seems creepy to talk about The Girl Next Door. Why don't we just stay focused on the episode?
Yeah, look, man, I'm just reading the name of the episode as it's written here, but you're not wrong.
Well, then what are we going to be talking about?
This episode, which is called The Girl Next Door. Today we have a very special episode. We got to be on our best behavior, Rich. A lot of people are going to tune in that maybe have not tuned in a while.
Yeah, I wonder why.
Yeah. Variety has a lot of popular formats. They do actors on actors and directors on directors. Today we have actor-director on actor-director and Rob. Actor-director Jensen Ackles will be joining us for this episode. But first we do what we do to start each episode.
Yeah, we do. We're not gonna break the rules because Ackles is showing up.
No.
Let's do it, Robert. Let's do it. The thing that we do. Yes, maybe you're singled out as just Rob, but you're just Rob who does the summaries like a son of a bitch.
Because if nothing else, I am still an actor and I can read lines.
Yes. So show him who's boss.
Directly following the events of the previous episode, Dean wakes up in the Sioux Falls hospital with a broken leg. And you remember Sioux Falls is where all the big teeth guys are hanging out, right?
Yeah, how did Dean break his leg?
He got beaten up by that one dude at Bobby's house. Remember that he dropped a car on that?
That's right. And he's in the ambulance and the guy's going like, I'm going to take you to
Leviathan Hospital.
County General. He's like, oh God, no, not County General. Because he knows that's where the creepy doctors are.
Yeah. And then Lucifer shows up in Sam's mind and he's, so maybe I'm not real, but I'm haunting you anyway. Okay, so he wakes up, Bobby's in the room, and Dean tells him Sam was taken to get an MRI. Bobby goes to find Sam and they plan on meeting at the ambulance dock. Dean is in a morphine haze, but makes it past all the Leviathans posing as hospital staff. Bobby, Dean, and an unconscious Sam pull off a thrilling escape in an ambulance.
You know, a lot of times when you're watching a television show, you're an expert at a field, say you're in the military, it must be hard to watch actors pretend they're in the military. You can see what they're not doing right or what they're doing right. Or if you're a firefighter or
doctor or nurse, you could pick out what doesn't work and what's not accurate. So I ask you, Rob, as an expert, was he doing a good morphine haze?
It was a great morphine haze. For me, it's just another Tuesday. And then escaping the hospital is just that easy. So no, it was really a really well done sequence, again, directed by our very own Jensen Ackles. For a second, we could talk about this later, but I was like, is this real? Is this really happening? I was waiting for the other shoe to drop because like Bobby comes in and he's dressed in his FBI suit. And like last time we saw Bobby, Bobby's house was
on fire.
Trashed on fire. Yeah. And so I was like, is this real? At any rate, it is. And now it's 3 weeks later and the trio are hiding out in Rufus's cabin in Whitefish, Montana. Dean is getting antsy because of the cast on his leg. Sam is having visions of Lucifer still, and Bobby hasn't found a way to kill the Leviathans. On a food run, Sam picks up a local paper that has a headline about the ice pick killer and remembers back in 1998 when he advised his father and Dean on a Kitsune in Lincoln, Nebraska. Sam decides to head to Bozeman, Montana to investigate on his own. Back at the cabin, Dean comes to and is pissed Sam is gone with the Impala. He saws off his cast to go after Sam. Now, as a doctor, I would advise against ever sawing off your own cast. But, he's Dean. He's got a bionic legs.
I would also tell you that as a person who goes to hospitals for myself and my loved ones, they need to tighten security. Anybody like Jim Beaver can walk there and this is the guy. I'll take this body. I'll take this living patient out of here.
No one says like, why would an FBI come in and take, Unbeknownst to Sam, his newspaper purchase has alerted Edgar and the Leviathans to his location.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and so we're just assuming that Dean's leg is it's healed in there. It's healed. It just took 3 weeks. A full leg cast that he just had to wear for 3 weeks.
A miracle. Medical miracle.
Sam sits in the Impala and recalls the Kitsune case in Lincoln. There, a young 1998 Sam met a girl named Amy. She was in the library researching Kitsune. At first, she rejects his advances, but is drawn to him when young Sam rebukes 2 boys tormenting her.
When he tries to kiss her, does she go, no, it's too Kitsune?
That's good. And of course, we have Colin Ford returning as the young Sam, a nice-looking young kid and a great actor.
Like cut him a jib.
So yeah, Sam lays down on those 2 boys and smacks them back.
He did what?
He lays down on them. Pew, pew.
I think lays in might be the term, but
lays down.
I'm sure he can lay down on the boys.
He lays down on them.
That's one way to stop a fight.
Sure.
I'm going to nap time the shit out of you 2.
Back at her house, they share a moment and a kiss. Go get it, Sam.
Oh.
Yeah. However, young Sam doesn't notice the human brains in the refrigerator. That's right. She's a Kitsune. Her mom is a Kitsune too. It's a Kitsune family of Kitsunes.
Yeah, that was a Kitsune kiss.
A torn young Amy kills her mom to save young Sam. Back at the present, Sam is pursuing a young woman in the woods. He catches her and recognizes her as Amy, all grown up. I think he knew all along and that he was chasing Amy, right?
I feel like he did.
Chasing Amy. Get it? Tune in. CBS this Friday. Anyway, so Sam believes she is the ice pick killer. She insists that she isn't, knocks Sam out with her monster strength and escapes. I'm going to go ahead and say maybe she is the ice pick killer. Sam awakens and drags Amy to her house. He tells her he must kill her. She tells Sam she lives a mostly innocent life. She works as a mortician. She eats the pituitary glands of dead people.
That kind of is like not part of the innocent part.
Well, they're dead, right? But yeah. However, her son is sick, so she needed the glands of a fresh victim. She promises not to kill again, so Sam lets her go. Dean is waiting back at the motel Sam is staying at. At first, Sam tries to tell Dean that the Kitsune has been taken care of, but then admits he didn't kill Amy and explains the story from 1998. The boys and Bobby head to Spokane. Dean, who had recognized Amy's license plate, tracks her and confronts her.
So did I miss something? Like, where did he see her car and license plates? Did I miss that detail?
He's kind of tracking Sam the whole time, right? Like, he goes to the newspaper place. He's like, did you see a big guy? He buys the newspaper.
Right.
Following Sam's tracks. But I don't know. Somehow he got the license plate and he tracked her to her where she's hiding out somewhere. I don't know. But he finds her. And by the way, his leg's totally fine. No PT, nothing. It's good to go. He confronts her, and in a brutal, I think really dark, brutal scene, he kills her without telling Sam. her son Jacob witnesses it.
You know why Jacob witnesses it?
Why?
Because he kills her with the door open.
Yeah, kills her with the door open. And just leaves her on the bed. Jacob hasn't killed anyone yet, so Dean spares his life. However, young Jacob vows to one day kill Dean. I ask Supernatural fans, does this ever come back to fruition? Does young Jacob grow up and...
Let's just do it podcast style. Show of hands for anybody who thinks that this comes back.
I'm so glad that you did it that way. Now we can see. Meanwhile, the Leviathan are closing in on Sam. In Whitefish, Montana, back in Whitefish, we see a Leviathan kill a store clerk in nacho cheese. He pours nacho cheese all over him and then eat him, and that's where we end. Those Leviathan, man, they got those teeth.
They got those teeth. I got upset about the cheese because that's nacho cheese.
It was nacho cheese.
You just can't do that.
Cheese.
That's nacho cheese.
No. Unfortunately, after the nacho cheese incident, that young man who was working, that clerk, he did not come to.
No.
All right, let's get into this.
Okay, we diving into this?
We're diving into it.
Rob and Rich. Ratings.
First, we want to talk about where Sam and Dean are in their relationship. So,
Well, they're in the middle of it.
they're in the middle of it.
No, it's not the beginning, and this is definitely not the end of their relationship.
It's right in the middle. But I would say that they're getting along fine. Sam is still seeing things and not really being honest with Dean, and Dean's having to feel like he's got to mop up after Sam. But I'm going to say that I don't feel like he always needs to. I did not like that call at the end of this episode. I know he's a hunter, that's what he does, but come on, man. Where's the humanity?
I thought it was really, really dark.
In front of the boy, I mean, it didn't really add up with like, this is the same Dean that's like, I'm going to take these boys and I'm going to take them back to their uncles where they're safe.
It seemed very undean.
It did.
I know this is ridiculous because it's not even close to what was happening in this story, but for a split second, I thought Dean was going to have, his eyes were going to flicker. We're going to go, oh no, he's a demon, or oh no, he's something else. Because this seems so out of character.
Right.
We've seen episodes where he's like, your kids, you damn it. There's one thing I care about is kids.
That's what I'm saying. He's the same one that a few episodes ago, he took those two boys that ended up being the bad guys.
Right.
But he took them to be with the uncle. So yeah. And then other thing we're talking about is the big bad. Who's the bad guy right now?
Leviathans.
It's the Leviathans, but it seems, or Leviathan. We don't know what the plural of Leviathans is.
Leviathan.
Leviathan. That's what I was going to say. But specifically, this one Leviathan guy, Edgar, he seems to be sort of like the captain, but he's not the general. He's reporting to somebody. We're not quite sure who it is yet.
It's weird, man. I think, though, the graphic on the Leviathan is cool.
It's a bit cartoony sometimes, if I'm being honest.
Today's was. The other ones last week,
Yes, we're better.
because they didn't stay on it long,
Yeah.
you would just see the face pop back,
Yeah.
and that looked cool.
Yeah.
Today's look a little graphic-y.
Well, other than that, what'd you think of the episode?
I thought it was solid. Jensen did a great job directing it. There's some really cool beats in there, and he's just a seasoned storyteller. I had a problem with the story itself, seeing the young girl and then leaping forward in time to finding her super easily. And it seemed like a lot of convenient things there that came together.
I'm always thrown when you're following the arc of the season, the continuation of last week's story, where we literally pick up where it ended. Then we go into a completely different sort of side plot that's just going to last for this one episode. You know what I mean? So in other words, we're following like the Leviathan doctors. They escape the hospital. He's got the broken leg, and Sam's seeing Lucifer, and then Sam tracks this girl from the past that's a brand new thing.
Yeah.
That's why there's a part of me that's always like, wait, is this real? Are we going to pop out and this is all something that Mark Shepard's doing to screw with them? Or
Yes. And I don't know, man. I liked it. It just didn't land with me. Obviously, Colin's always awesome, but the sort of flashback, I didn't have an emotional connection to that storyline.
Here's what I liked about it. And I'm sure after we talk to Jensen, we'll probably like it more. That's usually what happens. What I liked about it was I thought that there was some really cool directing. I was watching it thinking about him as the director.
Sure.
But that whole first sequence was great. I liked the effect of fading Sam into like red to go into the past. They do this sort of red filter over Sam, and then we go into the past.
Yeah.
That was well done. I thought the casting of the older and younger girl was good. You believed that they were the same person.
Yeah.
And the story itself was a good story. It just threw me off because I get stuck in like what the plot of the season is, and I'm just going like, let's get back to the Leviathans and the doctor and the.
I tend to agree with you here. I kind of felt the same in that regard.
Yeah.
It just didn't connect for me. And I don't know why. I tend to think it's the story.
The other thing I want to ask Jensen about is he's in a lot of the episode, and a lot of times when he directs, they take him out. He's not as much in the episode. And I thought, oh, he'll be held up with a broken leg and we won't come back to him for a while, right?
Not true.
Jensen was in it a lot, and that's not easy to do.
Oh, he's in it a ton. I thought the same thing when they opened with him in the hospital. They're like, oh, and then him hobbling around. I'm like, oh, he's got a lot going on.
So what's your verdict then?
I don't have one ready to go here. Do you know what you're going to do?
I know the theory of what I'd like to do, which is, to me, it's like maybe in the late 80s, Kenny Loggins. Oh man, I just looked up Kenny Loggins. He really got a lot of work done. So I'm going to go ahead and say it's Kenny Loggins now.
Oh, no.
It's Kenny Loggins right now.
That's not good. No, sir. Oh, Kenny.
My point is, it's Kenny Loggins with not a lot of beard, meaning it's still Kenny Loggins, who's our top-notch episode. There was a lot about it that I like because it's Kenny Loggins. Look at this catalog of music that Kenny Loggins has. But we want Kenny Loggins with a full beard, and it didn't quite get full beard Kenny Loggins. But it's Kenny Loggins. It's not somebody else with a half beard. It's Kenny Loggins with a half beard.
I'm looking at you right now, and you've got a beard going, and I want to go with the Rob Benedict. Today, Rob Benedict, because it's a nice looking beard, but it's not like a crazy Bushman overgrown thing. So
I literally just trimmed my beard. So
there you go.
Yeah.
So it's Rob Benedict, freshly shorn Rob Benedict.
I have to say, you've done this before where you've named it after me, and it always comes, it's always an episode you don't like as much.
That's not the point.
Look, you know what? I didn't love it. It's like it annoys me to be around sometimes.
You don't wear like a Stapleton is like this giant thing.
Yeah.
And the old 70s login this too.
Right.
If I do a Christopherson, a Benedict, Phil Segrisha, they're like 5 or 6 go-to sort of like, cool.
Yeah.
They're like, solid.
Yeah.
It's not even about the beard. It's about the lengthening of measurement.
And I might say it's about the person.
Of course you would.
No, I say it's about the body of music in mine. But guys, this is very exciting. We're going to continue this conversation with our guest of the day. Jensen Ackles is this young man's name, and he played Dean on the show for 15 seasons, and he directed 6 episodes of Supernatural, including this one, which was his second. And this is our conversation with our buddy Jensen Ackles.
What's up,
What's
fellas?
up, Jensen Ackles? How are you, buddy?
I'm good. I'm
You
all right.
tired? Jesus.
Are you beaming in from Toronto?
I'm in the beautiful city of Toronto, Canada. Just got here yesterday.
Nice. So Countdown, you just finished filming the show Countdown for Prime. Now
Yep.
you're up in Toronto shooting the last season of The Boys.
Correct. Yeah, I finished, wrapped up Countdown last week. I don't know, what was that, 4 days ago? And now I'm here.
Wow,
Yeah.
craziness.
Man, you're a man on the go.
Mm-hmm.
Were you able to go home before Toronto?
Yeah, I went back home right after I wrapped and then basically unpacked my LA stuff and packed up my Toronto stuff.
Wow.
Your Speedo goes in that bin, your flip-flops over there, and then grab your Arctic parka.
That's it.
All right, let's get down to business. We're talking about episode...
And then maybe grab that Speedo out of the dustbin because you might need the Speedo in Toronto. I mean, you should take the Speedo. You don't know. It could be a spa.
But you never took it off. Let's be honest. It's just, I add layers.
Smart move.
I know there are going to be a lot of people that want to keep talking about you in the Speedo, but I've got to get back to the end.
Let's get to what we're here for. Why are we here?
We're talking about the second episode that you directed, which is episode 703, The Girl Next Door.
Yeah.
So we've got questions. So first of all, with directing, when did the itch start? And how did that work? Was it like, hey guys, I think I might want to direct one next season kind of thing? Because I think season 6 was your first directing episode.
Season 6 was first. Yeah, Weekend at Bobby's.
Which is a great episode, by the way.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah, I love that episode. The script alone, just because we really hadn't spent that much time with Bobby Singer and to get to do that with Jim.
Yeah.
And it was also nice for me because it took me out of the story quite a bit. I was able to just focus on directing and not have to worry about dipping onto camera and then thinking about shots and then memorizing lines and stuff. So that worked out really well. I'd say the first time that I thought about directing was actually Tom Welling was the one who planted the seed. He was finishing up Smallville. There was an overlap there, but maybe about 5 seasons. Our first 5, I think, were the last 5 seasons of Smallville. There was a lot of hanging out and stuff offset on the weekends and stuff that we would do. And he had started directing a few Smallvilles over there. And he was like, you got to get him a directing spot. I was like, I'm good. Listen, I'm still trying to figure out this thing in front of the camera. I don't know that I need to figure it all out behind the camera. That seems like another mountain that I don't need to climb just yet. So that was in my head of just like, maybe I'll start asking questions just in the chance that opportunity presented itself in the future.
Yeah.
And then it was Kim Manners, season 2, I guess. He just flat out told me, he's like, you're going to direct.
Wow.
I was like, why? And he's like, because you're asking the right questions when it comes to why that and it was honestly, it was born out of just a curiosity.
Yeah.
Because I didn't go to film school. And so everything I've learned, I've just learned on the job. And so I started asking, I was finally in a position to where I could, I was spending almost every day, all day on set, more than I ever had been up to that point. I just started getting curious about what was under the hood. So I started asking the camera operators, and I started asking the directors and the DP and picking their brain a bit. Why are you using this lens? What does focal length mean? Why a long lens instead of a shorter lens? All of that kind of stuff. And in asking Serge and Creaser and even Tishner and some of those guys, they directed me more towards a book or a movie or something that kind of gave some of those explanations of why things are shot a certain way. And for me, I was like, look, if I never get to direct, at least this is giving me more information for the business that I am pursuing and being in right now. So I looked at it as just collect as much information as you can, because the more info you have, the better it can help you out in whatever capacity you're doing. So it caught Kim's eye, and Kim said, you're going to direct one of these one day.
Wow.
And I said, okay, sure, whatever. Yeah. And then it wasn't until season 4 that Bob iterated something very similar. And he said, Kim mentioned you directing. Is that something you still want to do? And I was like, to be honest, it was never something I asked for. It's never something that I would negotiate into my contract or force you guys to let me do. I remember I said this, I was like, I'll only do it if you believe in me enough to get it done.
Wow.
And the next season he gave me an episode.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Just hold that thought. We're coming right back.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Shifting a little money here, a little there, and hoping it all works out? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can be a better budgeter and potentially lower your insurance bill too. You tell Progressive what you want to pay for car insurance, and they'll help you find options within your budget. Try it today at progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
Hey guys, it's Rob. You know what gets me is cell phone bills. What are those charges? They're bogus fees. The almost late fee. You were thinking about it. Fee. That's how they make their money, and that's the way that business works. But I personally would rather, I don't feel like my money is sort of just like, fast track into the service that I'm using. And so that's why I decided to stop paying those overpriced cell phone bills and switch to Mint Mobile. What? Who are you, Robert? I know, right? So say bye-bye to your overpriced wireless plans, jaw-dropping monthly bills, and unexpected overages. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you with premium wireless plans starting at $15 a month. All plans come with high-speed data, unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. This is the best part. You get to keep your phone number. Super easy. And all your existing contacts. So you don't do anything. You just be you, pay less money, switch to Mint Mobile. Ditch the overpriced wireless guy. Get 3 months of premium wireless service from Mint Mobile for $15 a month. If you like your money, Mint Mobile is for you. Shop plans at mintmobile.com/supernatural. That's mintmobile.com/supernatural. Upfront payment for $45 for 3-month, 5-gigabyte plan required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. Thanks for listening, everybody. And now back to the episode. People may not know this, but when you direct, normally your part shrinks a little bit because you need all of your energy to direct. But I noticed in this episode, 703, you're actually in a lot of it.
Yeah. I remember I had that conversation with Bob after they obviously took it easy on me the first round because it was a weekend at Bobby's. So I was only in like 2, maybe 3 days that whole episode.
It makes sense. Yeah.
And I was able to just focus on the task at hand, which was directing. And when I got this script and they were like, you're going to direct again. It's going to be this script. I read it and I was like, there's a lot of me in here, Bob. And he goes, yep, gloves are off.
Wow.
That's good.
I mean, geez.
Got to do it at some point.
Yeah.
When you're in it and you're directing, like, is it harder on you?
Yes. It is. And Rich, I'd be interested to hear your take on this too, because there were several moments, in fact, not just in this episode, but in episodes that I directed after this too, where I'd be so focused on shot lists or the clock or what I needed to get done in order to move to the next set, or thinking about, did I pick the right prop for that scene that we're not shooting for another 3 days? I start thinking about that. I'm getting show and tells while you're on set, and I'm thinking about making decisions that and I just totally forgot to memorize my lines.
Yeah.
And then Kevin Parks was like, "We need you." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And I grabbed my director's binder and I'm like, what's the question? They're like, "No, we need you on camera. You're in this scene." And I was like, "Oh, shit."
What do I say?
That's hilarious.
Do I talk?
Was this the first episode of the season?
So every episode that I did for Supernatural was filmed as the first episode of the season so that I could come back early from hiatus, prep. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And one of the main reasons I wasn't able to really direct any more was because for the audience, you guys know this, but for the audience, they overlap prep with production. So while episode 4 is filming, they're prepping episode 5. And that preparation is arguably the most important part of the directing process, because that's where you get your playbook. That's where you build your approach. And the director has to be there for prep. I unfortunately was filming and wasn't available for prep. So the only way that I could really direct was they brought me back early from hiatus when I wasn't working, and I would prep the first episode that would usually air either 2 or 3. And then we would go and then film the season opener, which was usually Bob or Phil or...
Right.
That makes sense. I mean, logistically, there's no way to do that. You can't prep and act unless they really took you out of it, and that wouldn't be cool for the story. So,
and then how do you do the editing, or do they allow time for that as well?
So editing was a little easier because I could get cuts, watch them at night after I wrap, send my notes in. And that's really how I did it. I would get cuts and then I would give notes. There was only a couple of times out of the 6 episodes I directed that I was actually in the editing bay.
Right.
The editors will tell you that I was bored out of my mind. This is me in the editing bay.
He leans back, falling asleep on his arm.
I've seen that, Jensen, before. I think it's usually when I'm telling a story about my family. Very similar.
Yeah. So we were able to get that done. Also, it's the editor's cut, editor's assembly, depending on what editor you're talking to, might get upset with that terminology. But then the director gets their cut, but then it goes to the producers, then they put their spin on it, then it goes to the network, they put their thing in the studio. And so it goes through a lot of filters before the final picture gets locked.
The studio has the final say, or the producers?
I guess it would be studio network. And
yeah, I guess they're the last voice.
Maybe network, because they're the ones airing it.
So let's say they take out a scene that you loved. Do you ever go, guys, you got to put that back in? Do you ever have a counter argument at the end, like a chance to plead your case about something they might have changed that you really wanted in there or wanted a different way?
I never had that at that point. There were things that I would impress upon Bob and Phil and Andrew or Sarah, whoever showrunning, that this was an important moment, or this was an important scene, or this was an important part that I really wanted to keep in there, or even a music cue or something like that. And so I knew that if they weren't arguing back with me, they would argue for me.
Right. Oh, that's good. That's good. Same with you, Rich?
I had it one time where it was not a scene. It was a very specific shot, though. And it wasn't in Supernatural. It was down the road after that. But I had befriended the editor, and the editor sort of showed me what the producer's cut looked like. And I was like, oh, they removed the blah, blah, blah. And he's like, yeah. And he was bummed and I was bummed. I'm like, okay, do your best to try to lobby. And what I did is I just gave him reasoning. I said, here's why it should be in here. Blah, 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 blah. Now you can say that. If I say that, people would be mad at that point. I'd be overstepping. But I could say to him, I said, I'm going to arm you with the cinematic language to
make your case.
Yeah. And the shot got put back in.
Oh, that's good.
But in Supernatural, I was done. I mean, like Phil made it abundantly clear that he knew that I was super into learning. So Phil would let me sit in on his sessions with the editor, but he's like, here's your rule. You say nothing. Gasp. You don't swallow hard. You don't this is my thing now. If you want to learn, sit here and learn. But your job is done and now you're just an observer.
Wow.
Which to date is the hardest thing I think Rich has ever done.
That sounds really impossible.
It lasted 4 minutes, 13 seconds, and I got the boot.
And then he did one of these. He went, up, and that was it. He was out.
Yeah, it was very comedic. My toupee flew up, and I made a squeaking sound, and they escorted me out. But Phil actually took great joy in saying things being about my choices because he knew I could react. He'd be like, hey, throw in the shot of the blah, blah, blah. And the editor's like, we don't have that. Like, oh, the director didn't shoot it? Well, that was a screw up. I guess the director dropped the ball that day. Anyway, moving on.
Biting your knuckle.
Yep.
Jensen, at the beginning of this episode, there's a really fun, almost heist thing where Bobby's there and you're escaping from the hospital and Bobby gets Sam, who's out of it. You're high on the drugs, blurry vision and everything. And you finally you get an ambulance and you speed off. It's a great little sequence. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I actually watched the show on my phone last night in transit. So
good for you. As a director, I imagine that you go, all right, this is an area I'd really like to do this with. Is it written that way? Because there were quick cuts. All of a sudden, it was a sped up kind of thing where you're like, ooh, this is fun. They're escaping from hospital.
We didn't have a lot of real estate to work with. That was at Riverview Hospital, which is at that point basically become stage 5. We filmed there constantly, and hardcore fans will know that place. But it was effectively an abandoned mental hospital. And I think there's still parts of it that were in use, but a large majority of the buildings on the property were just abandoned. So film crews filmed there all the time.
Right.
So this was in one of those buildings, but what we had dressed was limited space. I only had like 2 hallways to work with. So you'll notice when Bobby grabs the gurney with Sam on it, that he takes off one way, and then you've got the doctor and the nurse that are in pursuit. This is where the reading and the paying attention and the stealing from those that you admire came in handy. Moving the camera towards your subject, it gives it a sense of pace and speed. And if you're just watching it go by you, it doesn't have as much energy.
You're moving towards the subject and then pivoting as they cross.
It's more of just like a big pass.
A big pass, okay.
And there was also some, and this is going back to some cinematographer's book somewhere along the way, but there's an example of it. Hitchcock did it, having the protagonist move from screen left to screen right and having the antagonist move from right to left, because naturally we read left to right. So that feels more comfortable, and going right to left is like against the grain.
Whoa.
And there was a little bit of that in there as well.
That's cool. The other thing I like that you did in this, Jensen, is going from your story to a past that someone's remembering is always tricky. Like, how do you make that work and the audience believes what you're doing or follows what you're doing? And you kind of faded Sam into like red. And that was how we got into the Colin Ford scenes.
Yeah, I talked with Serge about how we wanted to differentiate present from past. And I think he came up with the idea of making it a different tonally. So Serge came in, he was like, I think what might work is if we shoot it, not filter, but like with a different light. So, and it almost had like a sepia tone to it.
Did, yeah.
And so that was kind of our crutch that we used to kind of help get us from present to past.
I liked it. And also, Sam's character is going through this thing right now where he's seeing Lucifer and still dealing with having spent time in hell. And so I thought that it tied that in, going what to me looked like red.
Yeah, it was like a reddish kind of yellowy thing. There was something else too when I watched it yesterday. In the beginning, when Dean's getting off the table and the drugs are still, and we had like a POV that was
blurry.
Like the woozy. Yeah. I forget the name of there's an application that goes on the lens.
It's called a lens baby.
The lens baby. That's what it is.
So talk about that. What is that?
It's almost like a manually operated focus, and not a zoom, but just it's like a manually operated thing where...
Yeah, you know what it is? I'll tell you. It's the thing that attaches to the end of the camera, but it's a rubber gasket. So the glass is loose.
Right.
So you can, Brad Creaser or whoever, can move it around and it'll find focus and lose focus in the course of doing that as fast or as slowly if you want. And you can hold it in focus and just adjust. Like you said, it's very manual, but it's manual like not even Jose off to the side. It's like you're doing it on the camera.
Yeah.
Somebody's physically holding this piece and manipulating it.
So it's not like the real small lens in a carriage.
No, it's the full film camera.
It's a lens baby joke.
It's a lens baby joke. It's a very small lens.
Yes. It was the baby. It went on the baby camera.
We could only use it a couple hours a day before it had to nap.
And then how was it directing Colin Ford? At this point, you probably know him pretty well.
I'm assuming a nightmare.
Well, when I got him out of his trailer, eventually,
good luck.
No, this would have been, he'd already played young Sam for a couple of years. Yeah, I think he'd already logged a few episodes.
Yeah.
And he was excited to kind of have a juicy storyline.
Yeah.
I mean, it was exciting, but also I was thankful because whenever you're working with younger kids, you never know. Yeah. It's a mixed bag.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. So thankfully, I already knew Colin, and I already knew that he could handle what we were throwing at him, and he was stoked to get to do it. We had fun, and Emma, the young girl who played opposite him, I thought she did a fantastic job.
She was great.
Yeah, they delivered every day, and I didn't have to do much directing as far as the acting goes. I could just focus on filming it and laying it out, and they were ready to play. And
it's a valid point I hadn't thought about, but having Colin returning was a great feather in your cap.
Yeah.
Because you weren't having to explain Sam to him or the character. I mean, like, he knew.
Oh, yeah, that would have been a whole deal, trying to get this kid to wrap his head around what the story is, who the character is.
Right.
So the fact that he was already in that and had that history made my job that much easier.
Yeah. And even the mom, I thought her mom, she was great. The mom was great.
And the
older version of her.
That's Jewel Staite. So I've known Jewel for a million years. I met her when she was doing Firefly and has done a million things since. And I kind of begged her to be on that episode.
Oh, cool.
And she was like, oh, all right. And came and played with us. Yeah, she's a great actor.
Oh, cool.
Great person. The real casting coup, I think, that in that episode was the drug dealer who got killed in the tunnel.
Oh, yeah.
Dave Grohl. It was nice of him to come on.
He was great, though.
I was watching it yesterday. I was like,
Dave Grohl?
Were the Foo Fighters in town?
Rich and I are broken record about the guest stars in this show because it was just like top to bottom. The casting in this show is really good. You get so many good people, even playing the smallest parts. I also appreciated that you could imagine that little girl turned into Jewel Staite, that they looked alike.
Yeah, we got lucky in that regard too, that there were strong performances from, first we had Jewel, so then I had to find somebody that looked somewhat close to Jewel. And when Emma came in, she nailed the performance. And I was like, I'd buy that all day. And so it was, it was a no-brainer.
It's great. The end of the episode ends with that dude pouring hot nacho cheese on a guy and then turning into a Leviathan and eating him.
Interesting, because I guess I used the Netflix. They didn't have the nacho. They cut the nacho cheese.
Right. Well, he pours it and then his face goes, and that's it.
Okay. So that's what I meant. And this is a little fun trivia for you. The guy the clerk is one of my dear friends, Mike Nias.
The guy who gets killed or the Leviathan guy?
The guy that gets killed.
Okay.
And you'll notice when Jared first walks in and asks him for
the paper,
he's actually wearing a Red Hood t-shirt that I had pulled from, a fan of somebody had given me a Red Hood t-shirt because I just done the voice of Red Hood. But Mike was one of my best friends in Vancouver. We'd known each other for years. I'd asked him if he wanted to come and do this little role. And he was like, yeah, man, sure. At the end of the episode, we did the nacho cheese thing. We filmed pouring the cheese on Mike's head. Oh my! And they cut it out.
That's not in the scene. Yeah.
It's not in the movie.
Why?
I don't know. Maybe it was it was burning hot cheese. I mean, obviously we didn't pour hot melted cheese on Mike.
I don't think it was something they wanted you to do because it's nacho cheese. You needed to get your own cheese and then you could do it. But that was not.
It's the third time he's made that. Yeah. And Jensen's walking away. He's out, as he should be. That's interesting, though. That's interesting. They cut it out.
So you got to be careful if you're a friend of mine and I ask you to come and do a part on something I'm working on. Just
poor Mike, you poured nacho cheese on him and then it got cut.
Yeah, and then it got cut. I was like, sorry, dude.
For no reason.
No, didn't have to be there for that one.
What did you know about Leviathans going into this season? Was this new to you? Did you have to learn about what the lore was or what,
Correct me if I'm wrong. Were they introduced in season 6?
Yes.
At the end.
About last episode, maybe. Yeah.
Then we dealt with them throughout season 7.
Then they're the big bad this season, basically.
You didn't really have a Leviathan heavy episode, though. Really.
Not this one.
Yeah.
No, just that they're chasing you and they got the teeth.
They're there. They're gross.
They've got teeth.
I wasn't the biggest fan of the whole Leviathan situation, but...
what was it that bothered you?
It was a swing for getting something really scary. Up until that point, the scary was always implied. You never necessarily needed to see the monster, except if it was a monster of the week.
Right.
The long lead stories were always more human related. I'm going to lose my soul or that kind of a thing. And so when the long storyline of the big bad came in season 7, it was these scary creatures that turn into these hideous things. I felt like it would have been good for a few episodes, but by the time we had actually bested the Leviathans, I certainly had thought they'd overstayed their welcome.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. Monster of the week is one thing, but monster of the season.
Yeah, I guess I just got tired of them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you have any plans to do any more directing at all?
Not currently. Although there was some inquiries with Countdown. Some of the cast were like, "Are you going to direct season 2?" And I was like, first we got to get it picked up for season 2, and then maybe we'll talk about something like that. But as of right now, no. I've got a pretty full plate as far as performing goes for the next 12 months.
Yeah.
Yep.
You certainly do, which is exciting. We're excited about all the new stuff. Is there anything you can tell us about Vault Rising or The Boys season 5 or?
No, Kripke. I mean, there's an armed guard out in front of my outside of my hotel room right now. No, there's not, but I wouldn't be surprised if there actually was. Literally just trying to get to my script through the emails that they send. I feel like I'm breaking into some government agency.
Wow.
I'm like, I don't think I should see this, and my name's on it.
Yeah. You need a password and everything, right?
Yeah, I won't spill any beans on season 5 as far as Vault goes. I think people have an idea of what to expect, but in true Kripke world, he loves to give you what you want in a way you don't expect it. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's well said.
It's going to be great, I'm sure, and gross, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
I guess my next question was like, does anyone have a prosthetic penis this season? The answer has to be yes, because
I'm not spilling any beans because this was announced on social media per Eric's request. There are a few familiar faces to this fandom that are coming to Toronto to mix it up.
That's fantastic.
And I think Jared's only request was that he gets to try on your prosthetic.
Although on his body, it's going to look really little because he's so tall. Well, buddy, we know you're so busy and we really appreciate you sitting down and talking to us.
Yeah, no, happy to. I thought we were literally doing a watch party. I was going to tell you what lens I was using. And
wow.
You just signed yourself up for one of those, pal.
Yeah, that would be fun. Get some popcorn.
Maybe when you guys in 10 years from now get to the end of the show.
Yeah.
Because you guys, if you're on 7-3, you're not even halfway done.
Correct.
No, dude, we're aft.
Ron said that with so much feeling. He just goes, correct.
And that was him amping it up for you.
Yeah. That was excited.
We're doing about 2 seasons a year, I think. So we got another 4 years or 5 years or so. But when we get there, I think you're right.
We do a theater. We rent a small theater. We get as many cast back and we mic us all up and we do a watch.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Anyway, that's my pitch.
It gets us to, it's a goal.
Yeah, there you go.
Thanks for doing this, buddy. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks so much, man. And we will see you in Italy in a few weeks, I think.
We will.
All right, man. Love you, pal.
Love you guys. Cheers. Bye.
Hey there, this is Jared Padalecki, and I hope you're enjoying the episode. But we got to pull over for a second for some messages.
There are many ways to entice a potential new customer with flashy branding and calculated marketing strategies. But at the end of the day, the success of a business comes down to the ability to close the sale. And for businesses like Thrive Cosmetics, Allbirds, or Skims, it's what goes on behind the scenes, making selling, and for shoppers, buying, simple that makes the difference. For them and for millions of businesses, that difference is made with Shopify. Businesses that want to grow with Shopify. Because if your goal is growth, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. And Shopify will make sure you're ready. On the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. And with Shop Pay, they boost conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going. It's no wonder Shopify is home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Allbirds uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/realm, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/realm to upgrade your selling today. That's shopify.com/realm.
This is a message from sponsor Intuit TurboTax. Taxes was getting frustrated by your forms. Now, Taxes is uploading your forms with a snap, and a TurboTax expert will do your taxes for you. One who's backed by the latest tech, which cross-checks millions of data points for absolute accuracy, all of which makes it easy for you to get the most money back, guaranteed. Get an expert now at TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service. See guaranteed details at TurboTax.com/guarantees.
Hey there, thanks for listening. Now, back to the episode.
What a treat to have the man himself here with us.
You know, when you get Jensen Ackles, aside from getting Jared Padalecki, you're not going to get anybody who has a closer connection to the show, and especially when he's directed the episode that's being discussed. What a great perspective on the whole thing.
It is true. When you get Jensen Ackles, you're going to get Jensen Ackles.
Yeah, you're not getting a Jensen Ackles type.
No.
You don't have to go out and go,
no.
Who would we cast as Jensen Ackles? We just went ahead and got Jensen Ackles.
All right, now we're going to move on to mythology.
Mythology!
Mythology.
Right. That. Let's talk about the look of the Leviathans.
Ooh, let's talk about the look of the Leviathans, because honestly, yeah, I know, like, I think we said that there might have been one digital one at the end of this one that was kind of like, but for the most part, what we've seen so far, they look pretty cool.
Yeah.
Kind of creepy.
Yeah. Well, and the teeth. I mean, remember them because of the teeth.
Teeth, they're about teeth. The same reason why you remember, like, Mary Lou Retton.
Or Mick Jagger. Well, the look was originally designed with pencil drawings by Ben Edlund. Of course it was.
That sounds like a Ben Edlund thing.
Yeah, but their true form is black goo, but can transform to a human appearance if they get a sample from a host. Rich, you've always been a nice host.
Thank you.
Like to throw Halloween parties. And that means blood, hair, or skin. Ooh, gross. I'm going to a different Halloween party. And engage an inhuman mouth to ingest their victims.
So when you make fun of my inhuman mouth, I constantly have to tell you, it's to ingest my victims.
Right.
There's a purpose to my mouth.
There's a purpose to your madness.
First of all, that sentence is terrible. Secondly, if Dave Grohl had started a band based on the idea that they were all hunters, instead of the Foo Fighters, they'd be the Goo Fighters.
Goo Fighters, yeah. Well, their grotesque, expanding mouths and the way they consume their victims recall classic body horror elements seen in works like The Thing.
From 1982. Yeah, it is. It's very kind of old school horror movie. And I do, again, I like the graphic. I know that it's a big reach for the digital world in which it was made, but when they pop their mouths open, they're pretty cool looking, man. Pretty trippy.
Yeah, and as if I were a dentist, I'd really appreciate them.
Yeah, this is basically an advertisement for come see your dentist.
Yeah, it gives it's a whole new level of like things, braces, like how does that work if you're like a teenage Leviathan?
Yeah, and if you're, flossing is so important because as soon as you open your mouth like that, you can see any human bone or like earlobe or anything that's in there.
There's so many levels of teeth going on there. That takes a while to floss, but you got to do it. You got to do it. Originally, the tongues were designed to have some independence, like a tentacle with its own intelligence. However, the team thought that went too far and pulled it back to the forked tongue. The good old forked tongue.
I'd love to get that team together. Who was on that team? Bunch of guys in lab coats? Ben Edlund with a pencil and eraser? Like, what was the team?
Yeah, well, they have rats. A bunch of rats in cages, and
that's the team?
They're testing it. Yeah, that's the team.
Wow. The writer's room is a sinister place.
A bunch of rats in lab coats. Yeah, so that's your Leviathan mythology for now.
That's how Rob just described the executive producing team of Supernatural. A bunch of rats in lab coats.
Now the show's over, I can say it. That was fun.
Well, there you go. Now those are fun, but they're not fun enough to be elevated to our next segment.
Correct.
Which is called Fun Facts, Fun Facts, Fun Facts, Fun Facts.
We could basically call mythology like
boring facts.
Yeah, exactly. It didn't quite make the cut.
Right.
Over the loudspeaker in the hospital, Dr. Todd Aronauer is paged. This is a reference to a recurring guest of this podcast and one of Supernatural's producers, Todd.
That would have been funny if the fun fact said, over the loudspeaker in the hospital, Dr. Todd Aronauer is paged. This is a reference to one of the Supernatural's producers, Craig Mathis. At the credit reporting office, we see that Chet is on the phone with a customer who called to report strange activity on his account. No, he should. I mean, did they ever say his name? I mean, I know exactly who the character is. I just didn't know his name. But wow. Anyway, $775 is charged to Mistress Magda. Chuck, played by Rob Benedict, called Mistress Magda in the season 5 episode Swan Song.
Yes.
Which means that Chet and Chuck have plowed the same field.
Perhaps. Yeah, I noticed that actually. I noticed. I was like, wait, I remember that. Yeah. Lots of fan speculation of who Mistress Magda was, like if it was sort of a callback to Mary Magdalene. There was a theory that had something to do with that.
A lot of interesting theories. All that we really know for a fact is that Chuck and Chet have farmed the same field.
Yeah, it's gross. I mean, that's a gross thing to say.
You're not into agriculture? Don't be weird.
Sam seems to have an innate attraction to monsters.
No wonder he's always coming on to me.
He sleeps with Ruby, a demon, Dr. Kara Roberts, a siren, Madison, a werewolf, and in this episode, he shares his first kiss with Amy, a kitsune.
It's funny that the correlation there is he's attracted to monsters, not he's attracted to smoke show women who he later finds out are monsters.
Yeah.
It's like if you're super into like really, really hot people and just it turned out they're all left-handed. You're like, wow, Rich loves left-handed people. That must be what it is. Okay, now somebody at Supernatural is a Doctor Who fan and lock the doors. We're not letting anybody out until we figure out who it is. Somebody involved in Supernatural is a Doctor Who fan. And we're going to find out who.
Wow.
In the meantime, I'll continue at this point.
Okay.
The name Amy Pond is character in the Doctor Who franchise.
Okay, $10 if you can guess what character.
A Pond.
A Pond.
It's probably Amy Pond.
There you go. That's the one. It's the same kind of thing as the Todd Aronauer. Yeah, I'm going to guess it's probably Andrew Dabb or Daniel Laughlin, the writers of the episode.
I'm going to guess it's probably insert name of writer here because I feel like everybody is a Doctor Who fan. And, David Tennant's a talented guy. I know he's not the only one. There's who's the other guy that everybody likes so long? He's now in House of Dragons.
Yeah.
But he's Matt Smith or something like that. He's cool.
Yeah.
And then it's interesting because I'm a fan of Broadchurch, and a woman from Broadchurch took over as Doctor Who. And so I thought, oh, wow, Tennant and her are both in the same Broadchurch. So they're two Doctor Who's on one show.
Wow. Well, Richard, if that is your real name, I like to call you Amy Pond.
Thank you. And I'd call you Todd Aronauer.
There you go. This is a fun episode. We got Ackles on.
We had Ackles.
We had some laughs.
We had a conversation about the episode. Ackles directing the whole thing. You and Chet planted your flag in the same pot of soil.
Yeah.
We know this about, we learned a lot.
Me and Chet are really into gardening, aren't we?
Dude, you guys are pigs. You basically go town to town laying waste to it's really disturbing, but that's a separate intervention episode.
Chet and Chuck.
Oh, right. We're using that name. Anyway, it's been a good episode. Yeah. Always good to get Ackles here to talk about his thing. Always good to hear you and Chad talk about your things.
You're a jerk face. This episode of Supernatural features Jared Padalecki as Sam Winchester, Jensen Ackles as Dean Winchester.
Guest stars include Jim Beaver, Colin Ford, Jewel Staite, Emma Grabinski, Benito Martinez, and Sean Owen Roberts.
The Girl Next Door was written by Andrew Dabb and Daniel Laughlin and directed by Jensen Ackles.
Editing by Nicole Baer, music by Jay Gruska.
Assistant hairstylist on the show was Francis Smith.
Hello, Francis Smith. Executive produced by Robert Singer and Sarah Gamble.
Supernatural was created by Eric Kripke. This episode originally aired on October 7th, 2011.
The episode of Supernatural Then and Now was hosted and executive produced by Richard Spade Jr. and Rob Benedict.
Produced by Stephen Hine, written by Stephen Hine and Haida Holscher.
And edited and associate produced by Trey Booty.
Well, what's up, Booty?
Music provided by Tim Wynn.
The episode was recorded with the help of Sonic Fuel Studios.
This podcast is from Story Mill Media.
Follow the podcast on Instagram and YouTube at SPN Then and Now.
Become a member of the podcast to get early access, chat rooms with other podcast fans, and video interviews at patreon.com/SPN Then and Now. That was a bold move, a Hine move, and a successful move.
It's a Hine move. Yeah. It's actually a Benedict move, but yeah, we'll give Hine the credit.
You know what's funny? It's like a Hine move and a Benedict move. So if I may combine the two, it's really a Heinedict maneuver.
Yeah, which I don't know. I don't think we could say that on air.
Oh my God, we're already recording? I just got here.
Don't mind that. We got 1 second left, according to your hat.
That's all you got.
I have to say that your description, I was reading some book for some jerk off. I don't remember. Hitchcock? Anyway, he did this. I don't know. I was on a can. I picked up this book on direct. F off. I don't know what he did later, but Hitchcock.
There's a lot of dick jokes here.
Yeah, we got it.
I'm gonna leave those out. I'm gonna.
You know what it is? It's not that it's called The Girl Next Door that's creepy. It's how you say it. It really sounds pervy the way you say it.
The young gal who just moved in next to our house. Is that better?
Oh, I can hear the police sirens approaching your house if you say that.
Back at the cabin, Dean comes to. Well, yeah, that's just one O on the two.
Oh, man.
Otherwise,
that typo is brutal.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal.
It's awful. It took me a second.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I don't know how we want good people on Podcastville through this. I think we don't.
No, we just edit and start again. But Sam comes to. Really? We did it twice. Steve.
Story Mill Media.
The Warning Woods has haunting horror stories that are sure to linger with you long after listening. I'm Miles Tritle, writer and narrator of The Warning Woods. Each week, I write an original scary story and share it with you on The Warning Woods. I've written 2 novels and nearly 200 short stories spanning the horror genre. If you're into scary stories, you need to check out The Warning Woods. Listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts,
or wherever you get your podcasts. Just search for The Warning Woods and click play at your own risk.
Can you actually change your personality if you want to? How does peer pressure work, and why is it so powerful? Should you ever really trust your gut when you make a big decision? These are just a few of the topics we've recently covered on my podcast, Something You Should Know. I'm the host, Mike Carruthers, and each episode of Something You Should Know covers multiple topics that are likely relevant to you. You'll discover things you can use in your life today, right now, like how to have a great conversation, how to be more courageous, the anatomy of the perfect apology, and much, much more. To date, there are over 1,000 episodes of Something You Should Know, and we've gotten over 4,000 mostly 5-star reviews. I invite you to check out Something You Should Know. Look for the bright yellow light bulb on the blue background. Something You Should Know, wherever you listen to podcasts.